cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. My name is Sunny. I am here with my co-host, Skyhawk.
Hello, I'm Giant Skyhawk.
And, of course, before we get too far in, let's thank all of our wonderful sponsors. So, of course, a huge thank you to Gem Accessories. We also want to thank Steelfox and E2B Games. Of course, if you are checking out any Dragon Shield sleeves, be sure to go ahead and use our affiliate link in the description down below. We do have an affiliate link for TCG Player as well if you're using them. And, of course, thank you to all of our wonderful Patreons who support us every episode and, month by month. Be sure to check that out in the description down below. We will read off all those names at the end. And of course, before I forget, we did start up a Teespring account. So essentially, it is a website that let us make our own t-shirt. We have a new podcast art, you might have noticed. And with that new art, we decided to go ahead and put it out on t-shirts and hoodies. So if you are interested in those t-shirts and hoodies, you can go ahead and there will be a link in the description down below. You can go ahead, you can grab them. I'm going to be honest with you, they're not really all that cheap, but they are as cheap as I could set the price on Teespring and us still make more than like pennies. So I'm just going to let you know, I think the shirts are $20 and the hoodies are $35, which I guess is like, these days is like almost normal price for shirts and hoodies. But regardless, it's, to me, feels like a lot of money. But we have also had requests fairly recently for things like t-shirts and hoodies. And, if you see something else on a Teespring store that, that sounds good to you that you would like to see, let us know, because we can actually put a bunch of different things on our store. It's just that this is what we started with. So, like I said, if you are interested in that, be sure to check it out in the description down below. And with that said,
we got some catching up to do.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, we were away for a bit, and we are back better than ever. I'm armed with a brand spanking new PC, and Sunny is armed with motivation galore.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. So for those that we know that the audio as of late has not been good. It's been really, really rough around the edges. We are very aware of it. You are not the only ones that have noticed. We've noticed too. And we are doing everything in our power to make the audio as good as we can. And to the point that Skyhawk literally went out over the weekend and bought a brand new PC entirely for content creation at the expense of his national trip.
I would say, to be fair, this was always in the cards. It was just like Lappy's starting to go. So
yeah.
I'm ready to rock and roll, and as always, if you run into any issues or you hear something that's a little weird, definitely let us know either in the Discord or in the comments, and I'll do my best to keep an eye out and address stuff as it comes up.
Yeah, we are still adjusting a little bit. We are still adjusting a little bit to like the new process, and I've never really done a ton of remote recording before. We've done episodes here and there, but never the whole show. So for me, it's like a huge adjustment to go from having Caleb right here in the studio with me to doing everything remotely. Now the entire right half of this couch is just covered in junk, but I don't have to clean it off anymore, so that's great.
Never mind, I take it back. The cleaning motivation is left. It's okay.
You said motivation, not cleaning.
I'm going to move my head to the side real quick, and you're going to see that my little table/desk behind me is basically just full of cards because I have been in the lab nonstop the last 2 weeks. So I understand. I get it.
Oh yeah, I'm not even gonna talk about like all the loose cards. I have like, okay, blankets, sure. Like I throw blankets. Now that I've got my AC fixed in the man cave, I can actually like justify having blankets in here. Because
True.
Fun fact for those that don't know, the last like month or so in this studio in the man cave has been so ridiculously hot that I've been like just profusely sweating during podcast episodes. And I couldn't figure out why. I put my hand up to the vent. The vent was like barely trickling cold air. I was like, that's just, something's wrong here. All the other vents in the house are blowing good, but this one's all messed up. I go into the attic, and maybe Skyhawk, did you get the picture, Skyhawk? Do you still have it?
I do. You sent it to me. I do have it.
Maybe we put a picture right here. But
yeah, if I got time, I'll pop it up. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like I went into my attic. The entire like section of my ductwork in my attic that goes to the man cave is just completely disconnected. It was just completely disconnected. And so I asked my dad and my father-in-law, I was like, what do I even do in a situation like this? Like, how do I recover something like this? And they were like, do you have duct tape? I was like, well, yeah, but they were like, that's what it's for. It's duct tape. And I was like, I always knew that, but like I guess it never clicked. So
it's a great story, and actually that's an excellent segue. Because speaking of cards everywhere, and speaking of problems with rooms being too hot, that leads very well into the first new card that we have to read.
It is. It does. It does. I want to do this one. I like this card.
You go for it. Go for it.
So this new card is Bonfire. So this is a normal spell card. You can only activate one card with this card's name once per turn. Add one level 4 or lower pyro monster from your deck to your hand. That's it. That's the card. It just adds a fire, adds a pyro. It's
super
literally
simple.
Rhoda.
It's going to be really good in Volcanic. Quick shout outs to the Curry Bandits on YouTube and at JaxelMS on Twitter. They have made a video explaining how good the bonfire targets are. And spoilers, if they're not Volcanics, they're really not very good. But the video is hilarious and you should go watch it. But this is just, it's nice to have just like a simple pyro consistency tool. I love it. I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Next up, we'll be moving quickly through cards because we got a lot of them.
Yeah, we had done a bunch of them, and then there was an entire 2/3 of an episode that got lost.
Just got died.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Audacity.
For real.
So next up, we have disappointing card number 1, the fabled Future Fusion Super Poly Overload Fusion. The combined card. Here we go. Super Future Polymerization over Future Fusion. Continuous spell card. 1. During your main phase, you can activate one of these effects. First, reveal one fusion monster in your extra deck and send one of the fusion materials mentioned on it by name from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, you cannot special summon monsters with that name, nor activate their monster effects for the rest of the turn. Or 2. Fusion summon one Dark Machine fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your hand or GY. This card sucks. Cyber Dragon has better fusion spells to be playing. I don't know why they made this card.
Yeah, it really is garbage.
It doesn't really do anything. Yo, we can send Fallen of Albaz. That's crazy.
But it doesn't lock out pendulum effects. So
that is what IGR pointed out. I guess we can send Zark. I don't know.
Anyway. Next we have Flame Tongue, the Blazing Magical Blade, which is a pretty decently cool name, but this is just Ferocious Flame Swordsman, but better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Link 2 Fire Warrior Link Effect Monster, 1400 attack. Link arrows are bottom left and bottom right. Materials is 2 fire monsters. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. Face-up spell trap cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Cool. Let's protect the floodgates. 2. You can target one of your banished fire monsters. Add it to your hand, and if you do, you cannot activate the effects of cards with that name for the rest of this turn.
I mean, it seems like a pretty good recovery tool for Volcanic. It can protect your face-up spell traps, which they've got a couple of. It kind of power creeps Barricade Blocker for these decks specifically. And I would like to point out that you can add Miscellaneous Oris back from the banished pile with this card, so we might play this.
Of course you can.
All right. Next up on the cards list, if you thought Fiendish Chain was good, how about Fiendish Golem? This card is in the Jack Atlas structure deck. Continuous trap, normal trap actually, Fiendish Golem. Simple effect, target one monster on the field with 2,000 or more attack, banish it until the end phase of the next turn. Then, if you activated this card while you controlled Red Dragon Archfiend, or a Synchro monster that mentions it, you can set one Fiendish Chain from your deck or graveyard. This is, honestly, this is just good generic removal and trap card, and then the extra stuff is if you want to be, like, very anime with the snagging Fiendish Chain. I think this card could see play.
I mean, it's definitely possible. Next we have Earthbound Release. This is a normal trap card.
Sorry, this is
good there.
I'm good.
1. When a level 6 or higher monster is normal or special summoned, tribute 1 level 10 Earthbound monster. Destroy as many monsters as your opponent controls as possible, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. So this is just an FTK tool.
Yeah, so for those who are unaware, there's an Earthbound monster called the Earthbound Greater Linewalker that just like sets your opponent's life points to 3,000. So it becomes very easy to set up an FTK with this card. I do not think it will be good, but somebody at Locals will do this to you.
Guaranteed 100% without a doubt for sure.
All right. Next up, we've got Vsauce. He's back again for the 6th time. Okay, let's just do Vsauce cards. Level 4 light, 1,500 attack, 2,100 defense, as do all of the Vsauce dinguses. Light Fairy Tuner. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1, this card is Vsauce Starfrost on the field or in the graveyard. Shocking. 2, you can target any number of your Vsauce monsters that are banished on your field and or in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, it gains 400 attack for each monster with different names shuffled by this effect. Pretty good free special. 3, if this card you control would be used as synchro material, you can treat it as a non-tuner.
They are doing more and more of that these days, and I really don't like it.
I think it's fine on the monsters. Like the main deck monsters, I think it's actually kind of a cool way to allow for flexibility in building boards. I do think on extra deck monsters, it would be very problematic. Because I think
it's very problematic regardless.
Because like the Chaos Angel can create without a tuner, I think kind of defeats the purpose of. I mean, that defeats the purpose of the mechanic. It's cool to have stuff that like bypasses mechanics sometimes, but I feel like that type of thing is a bit dangerous.
Yeah. Next we have Vita Upbanished. What a name.
This is a ridiculous
Dark Warrior,
card.
special summon, Pendulum, effect monster, Pendulum scale of 0, level 12, 0 attack, 4,000 defense. I'm just going to say, a Pendulum scale of 0 is a very, very dangerous thing. Pendulum effect. Once per chain, if your monster is destroyed, place 3 counters on this card. 2, if this card's Pendulum scale is increased by the number of counters on it. 3, you can remove 12 counters from this card, special summon it. Okay. So that's a pretty cool way to cheat out the card within its own effect. Just really weird that it places 3 counters and it moves its pendulum scale for the number of counters on it. That's weird. Monster effect. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by its own pendulum effect. You can only special summon Vita Banished once per turn. Makes sense. Once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster or monsters from the extra deck, you can banish 12 cards from your hand, field, and or graveyard face down. It becomes the end phase of this turn. Oh. That's broken.
So...
Wait, I'm not done. Let me finish.
Yeah. Finish reading it.
2, once per turn during your standby phase, return this card to the hand. Then you can special summon one of your Vita monsters that is banished or in your hand deck or graveyard. That's insane. I mean, it's very, very hard to do anything with it. And it would look like a Looks like it would be a sick ultimate rare if we got it, but we won't.
Yeah, this is a. So I remember when the translation first was, it was like if your opponent's monster is destroyed, and that would just be super hard to set up. But now it's just if a monster is destroyed, very, very easy for a Monadium Vsauce deck to destroy 4 of their own monsters over the course of a combo. The thing is, like, this feels very Winmore. Like, you go get this, and it's like, it's an extra deck lock for sure, but like, there's other ways to like play around it. Like, you can build a board to protect this, but it just feels like that you already have to be playing for this to do anything. I think some people might mess with this, but I don't think it's that crazy. I just think it's very, very funny.
It is very funny, and it's one of those cards that's going to creep up, and you're just going to got randomly, much in the same way that Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity does.
I can definitely see that one happening. So something else that's interesting here, this card I think is really good. This will see play for sure.
One?
Yeah,
I think this next one is the craziest card that we've read together in a long time.
That's true. So Monadium Treliscuda, we'll go with that for now. Light Fairy Synchro Tuner effect, level 6, 1300. 1 tuner and a 1+ non-tuners. Each effect hard once per turn. 1, if this card is synchro summoned, you can target 1 level 2 tuner in your graveyard, special summon it, but its effects are negated. This is crazy. This turns like any level 6
Ringo
synchro if you're
idiot.
making a 2. Yeah, like they're so... Okay, I can get into the applications of this afterwards, but this enables a lot. 2, you can target any number of tuners you control. Their levels become 2. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except synchro monsters. So, the first effect of this card, just on its face, is ridiculous. As like a climb tool, it's crazy. Just like, we now have cards at like the 3, the 6, 3 in Martial Metal Marcher, the 6 slot in this card, and the 8 slot in Axel Synchro that can just like revive a tuner. So there's just like a ton of climb potential that happens here. Setting all the levels to 2 is really good, because if you're making a bunch of stuff, being able to like do that specifically to make plays is big. I do like that they locked you into Synchro by doing this specifically so that you can't just like try to turbo this in Sprite. This card is crazy. It will see play for sure. Yeah,
guaranteed. And also, my chest is right here if she wants to step on it. So.
We're really getting unhinged, Sonny, tonight. All right, okay. I see
late. Next is a Planetary Elegy, or Elegy?
It's Elegy.
Well, it's edgy.
It's edgy.
That's the way I read it when I first saw it. Planetary Edgy.
Sounds good.
So, normal spell. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1, add 1 Vita monster from your deck to your hand. That's not once per turn?
No.
Broken. 2, if a face-up tuner monster you control is destroyed by a battle or card effect while this card is in your graveyard, and Envious Starfrost is on the field, you can banish this card, then target one of those destroyed monsters, add it to your hand. Huh.
Rhoda with upside? That looks pretty good to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Bonfire, but better. Wow. In literally every way. It's not once per turn. That's crazy.
I would like to point out that it says a Vida monster, which is a little janky because that pretty much refers to like exactly the Pendulum. So I'm not sure if there's any others. If there are ever any others, this card will be crazy, but for now it's kind of weird. I will say there has to be like they have to, if we do a turbo deck based around the Pendulum, we have to call it Livin' La Vida Loca, right?
Da 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 da, living la vida loca.
He'll lock your extra deck, living la vida loca.
Gross.
Anyway, the next card after the Ricky Martin segue is Planetary Eulogy, or Planetary Edgy, I guess. Quick play spell. Each effect hard once per turn. 1. Target one monster you control and one effect monster your opponent controls. Destroy that monster you control, and if you do, negate that opponent's monster's effects until the end of the turn. Then if Vsauce Starfrost is on the field, you can destroy the targeted monster. 2. During your main phase, if a V-Dub monster card is on the field, you can banish this card from your graveyard and destroy one monster you control.
This card reminds me so much of Sprite Smasher.
I really like this. This is really cool. And I love that it's like a card that can be good to set going first that you can set up, or something that is flexible going second. Excellent card design. I love this.
It's really good card design, but and here's the thing that was really underrated about this kind of a card. So if you have a let me put this in my head. If you have a deck whose end board is only monsters, a la Super Heavy Samurai, just for sake to say. If you have a deck that's like that, then it is an inherently worse deck than a deck who has a varied end board. Think Sprite Smashers, or like Sprite in general, where the deck that puts up the end board of nothing but a bunch of big negate boss monsters, that deck is inherently worse because it is subject to major board breakers in the name, such as Dark Ruler No More, Forbidden Droplet, etc. Whereas if you can build an end board that has a various suite of traps and hand traps and graveyard interaction, and you can build all of that within your natural engine and your natural combo, your deck is inherently better because it takes more than one kind of board breaker to effectively, put your deck on notice, right? So think about Sprite not only setting up things like Toad and the Melfi interactions, but also Sprite setting up Sprite Smashers and things of that sort.
Double Cross, another great example. Although
Exactly.
Smashers is more comparable to this because Smashers has, again, that flexibility going first and second.
Right. So when you see this kind of a card, this also reminds me of Swordsoul Blackout, where it can be banished to be an extender, or it can be used within the end board. And I would say that Swordsoul Blackout is not as effective as a card like this is, or at least not in some ways. But this card, these are the kinds of cards that make an archetype really good. Not just playable, but these are the cards that give them varied and interesting end boards that make them much, much, much harder to play through. So the cards like this are
definitely
not only good. Yeah, it's not only good card design, but it's also good deck design and archetype design. So,
on that note, you get to read a trap card.
I do. Next, we have Sarv Sarga, normal trap. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. 1. If Visa Starfrost is on the field, target one effect monster on the field. Shuffle that target into the deck, and if you do, during the end phase of this turn, its owner can add one monster from their deck to their hand with a different type and a lower level than the shuffled monster's level. That came out of nowhere, sorry. Then the shuffled monster's level, rank, or link rating. 2. If a Vita monster is special summoned while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. So this is another one that revolves around a Vita monster, so I'm just feeling like we're going to get quite a few more of those over the coming days.
I think so. And, I mean, this is good disruption. It's basically just like trap card shuffle into deck. You have to control Vsauce Starfrost, but that's fine. I like during the end phase, they get to add something with a different type in a lower level. Pretty easy to add something like an effect veiler off of basically anything that you shuffled. So it's kind of an interesting balancing mechanic for such a strong bit of removal. The recovery also feels kind of gimmicky because, again, like how often are we really summoning Vita? At least for now, I'm not so sure. But I don't know if people will play this, but it's a strong option. So I imagine that some people might experiment.
Yeah. I think the spell card is inherently better, but
Very true.
We'll see. You get the next trap.
Yeah, here's another one. So, Loka Samsara, another normal trap. Both hard ones return. 1. Banish one face-up Vsauce Starfrost you control until the end phase. Special summon one heart monster with 3,000 attack from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, but it can only activate its effects once. Also, banish it face down during the end phase. 2. If your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand.
I think there's several heart monsters that fulfill this condition.
Yeah, I can think of one. A Kashtira Arise Heart. Tearlament's Kaleido Heart.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't think about those. I was thinking Heart Earth Dragon.
So I don't know if that works because the casing is different on those monsters, I think.
That's a weird differentiator, but...
Yeah, you might be able to. I'd have to look it up. But I think something is like... I think the T might be capital in Heart or something, and that screws it up.
Would that screw it up for real?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well,
maybe not. I'd have to look it up. It might. It's weird.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm tired of talking about Visa's cards. What about you?
It's interesting. I actually do think I'm done talking about Vsauce cards. It would be really cool if we could just like go back kind of in time a little bit, maybe like the last season of the DM anime, or maybe like, lots of like a Shizu or Odeon, or like, just kind of that like Egyptian theme. Wait, hang on a sec. What are those cards from AGOV?
It's funny is I don't want to go there either, but we don't have much choice. So next we have the Four Sons of Horus Descend. So this is all from Age of Overlord, and it is a bunch of support surrounding the Horus archetype. Now, if you're wondering what the Horus archetype is, it is like Horus the Black Flame Dragon, levels 4, 6, and 8. They are very cool cards. They do deserve their own archetype. Making it a big part of a core set kind of sucks. This feels like an Animational Chronicle kind of bunch of cards, but whatever. I don't think that. Yeah, I don't really think that these like DM era archetype retrains should be core set things. That should be like side set stuff. But yeah, sure, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, first card is Imseti, Glory of Horus. This is a dark spellcaster effect monster with level 8, 3,000 attack, 1,800 defense. You can only special summon this card's name with its first effect once per turn. You can only use the second and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. 1. If you control Pharaonic Sarcophagus, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. 2. You can send 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard, including this card. Add 1 Pharaonic Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand, then draw 1 card. 3. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while you control this monster, you can send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. These feels pretty solid. I guess we'll talk about Pharaonic Sarcophagus later, but
yeah,
I mean, this replaces itself and then some. So
this kind of reminds me of Dark Lord Ixchel, where it's a really good card and it's actually quite a strong consistency tool, but it's very dependent on everything else that's happening, and it's also quite minus. It's like send both cards for cost is definitely a rough place to be in. Not that they don't mind being in the graveyard, but I think this is something that will get way better as more stuff comes out for this, but as of right now, I'm not sure. All right, so now we got the second card in this deck, and it is Duamutef, Blessing of Horus. Water Beast effect, level 8, 0 attack, 0 defense. Only special summon this card's name with its first effect once per turn. You can only use the third effect once per turn. 1. If you control Pharaonic Sarcophagus, there it is again, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. 2. Gains 1,200 attack and defense for each Horus monster you control, so I guess it gives itself 12. 3. If another card or cards you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while you control this monster, you can draw cards equal to the number of monsters with different names in your main monster zone. I don't really know what to make of this. This is very strange. I guess it's like if they get rid of your Pharaonic Sarcophagus, you can go draw some cards, and that seems pretty good, but it also just kind of doesn't really do anything. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it puts a free body on board, which is kind of cool. Other than that, I don't know. It seems like this is like a really good rank 8 engine. But
That's true.
As of so far, anyway. Also, they aren't zombies, but they feel like they should be. I don't know. I think with enough ways to get cards into the graveyard, this is starting to look like it could get kind of crazy. But we'll see. Let's read the next one, and maybe it starts coming together more here.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Happy Vanguard of Horus. Wind Beast Warrior effect monster, level 8, 2400 attack, 1600 defense. You can only special summon if this card's name with its. You can only special summon this card's name with its first effect once per turn. You can only use the second effect once per turn. 1. If you control Pharaonic Sarcophagus, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. Yes, I'll do this, of course. 2. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, while you control this monster, you can target 2 cards that are banished and or in either graveyards. Either add both to their owner's hands or shuffle both into the deck. This is a really interesting form of interaction right here that could be just good enough to be an end board card if you played this deck as an engine, this card alone is good enough to be an end board card within the engine that you played it in.
I mean, so yeah, this card is basically either double DD Crow or it's just like infinite recovery for whatever you have in your graveyard or banished. Now,
right.
Again, it's conditional on your opponent actually doing something. So, I mean, yeah, but they're big. It's tough to remove them without card effects, right? Like you can run them over by battle, I guess. But
right,
I don't know. It's actually kind of it's really sticky. It's like they don't do anything, but they make it very difficult to do anything to them. It's kind of an interesting way to set something up.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I feel like this is something that could come together. We'll have to see.
Okay. Well, I guess I got the last of the 4 crew here. Kabeshnuef, or Sinuef, Aegis of Horus.
You did better than me.
Shout outs to Crystal Aegis. Earth Winged Beast effect, level 8, 2500 2k. You can only special summon this card's name with its first effect once per turn, only use the second effect once per turn. 1. If you control Pharaonic Sarcophagus, special it from grave. Shocking. 2. If another cards you control leave the field by an opponent's card effect while you control this monster, you can activate this effect. This turn, your opponent's monsters cannot target Horus monsters on the fields for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target them with card effects.
Okay.
Not target for attacks goes kind of crazy. And you can't target it within card effects. Like, you have to remove them with, like, non-targeting removal. But if you do that and they leave the field, they trigger.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of hard to deal with. But, again, in order to trigger this, another card has to leave by an opponent's card effect. So, all of these are, like, weird conditional sticky cards that have crazy effects if your opponent decides to proc them. I gotta say it's unique. I don't know if it's gonna be good, but it's kind of cool.
It's unique, if nothing else. Next, we have the one and only Pharaonic Sarcophagus.
I will say, this has maybe one of the funniest lines of text on a card in a long time.
Yeah. You can only use the second effect of this card's name up to 4 times per turn.
I think that's a first. I don't think we have that yet. I think that's the first one.
I don't think we do. 1. Horse monsters you control cannot be targeted by card effects unless they target them.
You mean cannot be destroyed
by card effects?
They can't be targeted by effects unless they target them. That's a patron name if somebody wants to drop that.
Yeah. 2. This is the one that's 4 times per turn. You can send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard. Send 1 horse monster from your deck to the graveyard. So if you have this guy in your hand, on your opening hand, you have all 4 of the other idiots on field. 4 level 8s.
Yep.
I'm training some giants. That's all I'm saying. 3. Once per turn at the start of the damage step, if your Horus monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send that opponent's monster to the graveyard.
Yo, me when C stealth attack, that goes crazy.
All right. At least we're almost done with these.
this protects all of them too. Because like one of the better ways you can remove them is just by attacking them. But if they have this, it's like, oh, it sucks. But if you get rid of this, then you trigger all the monster effects. Tricky.
Yeah, it's forbidden drop letter bust, baby.
Yeah, no kidding. And then they have a continuous trap card, Canopic Protector. Continuous trap. You can only use the second effect once per turn. Once per chain. Once per chain. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon one Horus monster from your hand or graveyard. And if you do, this turn you cannot special summon another monster with the same original name with the effect of Canopic Protector. So this just revives all of them.
Yeah, I guess it does.
What the hell?
They're really sticky.
This is so weird because they don't do anything, but like you can't remove them.
Right.
Two, if this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can set it, but banish it when it leaves the field. Oh, okay. So you pitch it with the first one, and then you just set it. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
There's gotta be. Okay, I don't know if this is good. There has to be something you can do with these cards. There's gotta be.
I feel like it is a literal rank 8 package. Like, all you need... Like, you could even do this, especially with, like, a zombie engine, right? Because if you just activate the Pharaonic Sarcophagus, you could just discard any bricks that you have in your hand. Imagine if you could just look at your hand and go, oh,
okay.
Thank goodness.
Activate
Pharaonic Sarcophagus, send a... discard Mizuki, send one of the guys... discard Plague Spreader, send a guy, normal summon Zombie Master, special 2 of the guys. It's just like you have infinite material immediately, especially in something like a zombie deck.
I had a thought.
Yeah, well, save it.
There's gotta be an artifact Durendal line here that just triggers everything. Anyway,
probably. My thought would be to use a. Like I said, a coach soldier, coach trainer, giant trainer.
A giant trainer, draw a bunch of cards. You have to have like 3 of them to do that. I mean, that seems pretty good. And the fact that the trap, like once per chain, just revive a guy, that works with giant trainer because you just attach all of them to the graveyard. So if you open, like there's gonna be a weird control deck that spawns off of these cards. Anyway.
Yeah, they're probably...
Speaking of weird control decks, we're actually going mid-range. We've got 2 new Vanquish Soul cards that just got revealed tonight. And I love the YG.org title for this. The first fighter of the Vanquish Soul Season 1 Battle Pass arrives. The shoutouts to Street Fighter 6. So we've got Vanquish Soul Xiaolong, a level 5 of Fire Worm effect monster, 2400 attack, 2100 defense. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. Also, they cannot be activated in the same chain. 1. If you reveal a card or cards in the hand to activate a Vanquish Soul card's effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. 2. Quick effect. You can activate one of these effects by revealing monsters in your hand with the listed attributes. Fire. Change the battle position of one monster on the field. Fire and fire. Add 1 Vanquish Soul card from your deck to your hand, except for itself. This looks like you play it. I don't know how many, but it's like... it's Rhoda, and it's a free guy. This seems pretty good.
Yeah, I don't see how this could be anything but awesome for the deck. The deck is... At its core, it's a resource-based... And it's like a resource loop, right? Or like a resource-based control strategy with like a little bit of mid-ranginess to it. I mean, this card feels exactly perfect for that. So,
all right, and then you got the trap card.
Sure. Next, you have Vanquish Soul Snow Devil. Normal trap. You can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. Reveal up to 3 monsters in your hand. 1 dark, 1 earth, and 1 fire. Apply these effects in sequence based on the number revealed. 1. Inflict damage to your 1+. Inflict damage to your opponent, then you special summon 1 Vanquish Soul monster from your hand. 2+. Inflict 600 damage to your opponent, also Vanquish Soul monsters you control. Cannot be destroyed by card effects this turn. 3. Inflict 800 damage to your opponent, then you can destroy all monsters on the field. Again, just for a resource-based control strategy, this feels like a really good card.
It seems legit. I mean, they love bouncing stuff back to hand, like being able to hold this after you bounce all your stuff back and then just blow your opponent out when they try to make their last push. Definitely seems quite strong. You could probably play this at 1. I'm curious if what the deck building decision is like to decide to play this or not, but they're probably, I mean, it seems pretty solid.
Seems good for sure.
Right. Next up, we've got 2 Nouvelles cards. Nobody could have possibly expected this face-off. So, I guess after we read both of these cards, I can get into the interesting, weird lore thing happening here.
No, we have more cards after this.
There's only 3. There's these 2 and there's 1 more.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, yeah. It's very short. Okay. Level 1. Poissonnaire de Nouvelle. Dark Fairy Pendulum Effect Monster, 700 attack, 1700 defense, 8 scale. Pendulum Effect. You can only use the Pendulum Effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. If you control a ritual monster, you can target one monster on the field, special summon this card, then change the targeted monster's battle position. Monster Effect.
Really good.
This card is actually nuts. Monster Effect. You can only use the first monster effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. If this card is normal or special summon, you can activate one of these effects. Either add 1 level 1 ritual monster or 1 recipe card from your deck to your hand. Ridiculous. 2. Banish any number of recipe cards from your graveyard, and if you do, special summon 1 Nouvelle's ritual monster from your hand with a level equal to the number banished. 2. If this card on the field is tributed and added to the extra deck face up, you can place it in your Pendulum zone. This card is nuts. This is everything you could have asked for the deck.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. I mean, when we think new waves of support that break a deck, this is what we think of.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think this card makes the deck like a meta warping super threat, right? We're not getting this for not till Duelist Nexus, the set after that. However, this card is really good. It's another like consistency tool with an easy normal summon. It's if you like special summon it from like the Pendulum scale when you control a ritual. You can use the other effect to like special another one from hand as disruption. It's a way to target your own monster, which is a way to remove cards going second. It recycles itself like essentially infinitely if you're tributing it or linking it off.
Yeah,
this is such a sick card.
Yeah. So next we have Concours de Cuisine Confectionery Contest. Quick play spell card. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. 1. Special summon 1 Nouvelle's Pendulum Monster and 1 Petesiel Pendulum Monster from your hand, deck, and or extra deck. 1 on each field. Also, you cannot use monsters as material for a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link Summon for the rest of your turn except Nouvelle's and Petesiel monsters. So you special summon 1 Pendulum Monster from your hand, deck, and extra deck. 1 on each field? Interesting.
This is why I wanted to explain it.
Okay.
Read the second effect and then it'll make sense.
Yeah. 2. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Then target 1 face-up monster on the field. It gains 200 attack for each recipe card in the graveyards.
Okay. So this is really kind of cool because it's the other card so obviously the first card is the level 1 Pendulum Monster, but the second card is the TCG exclusive, or at least it was, Pendulum Fusion. It was like the Super Poly target where the requirements are 2 Pendulum monsters. I can't remember what set it was in. It got a Starlight and people were like, why does this card get a Starlight?
I think it was Dabble.
It might have been Darkling Blast. Anyway, so that is what is happening here. So you summon the Nouvelles to your side and you summon that to your opponent's side so that you have a card to tribute on their side of the field for your Nouvelles monsters so you can do more combo plays. This card is I think this card is pretty sick. I don't know if, like, because it does lock you out of, like, making stuff except with the Nouvelles and the Petesiel monsters, which is maybe a little wonky for some combo lines, but this is so sick. I love this.
This is another one that, like, this card's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this card is older than I realized. Dimension Force, which it was the one of the cheapest Starlight rares of all time. It has
Probably
already spiked. It has not anymore. It has. Can you want to guess the price spike?
It's probably like $250.
No, it's not that crazy. It was floating $54 to $57, and now they're about $90.
Probably will go up from there too.
Oh, it will. It will.
Okay.
It's guaranteed.
So
but it's from Dimension Force. That's how old this card is.
We now come to the last new card, and nobody more fitting to read this card than me. I was so excited when I saw the image and I found out that this card's name was Transcendosaurus Exoraptor, and that we were finally getting a dinosaur link monster that wasn't Reproducus. And then I read
this
the card.
The picture of this card is sick, by the way.
Oh, the art is so good, which is all the more shame that this card is unplayable garbage.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely angry that they made this card because they know. Link 3, Dark Dinosaur, Link Effect Monster, Attack 3000. Materials, 2+ dinosaur monsters, including a level 6 or higher monster. You can only use each of the 3 effects once per turn. 1. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon 1 dinosaur monster from your hand. Useless. 2. If a face-up dinosaur monster this card points to is destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard, you can draw 1 card. You have to put this underneath of something to make it point to a dinosaur, and to set up all of that for 1 card is complete nonsense. There's never any reason to do it, especially for 3 monsters. 3. If this card is destroyed, you can shuffle 1 normal monster from your graveyard into the deck, then you can special summon this card. This card sucks, and I'm very sad about it, is all I have to say.
I disagree.
Okay,
I don't think this card is nearly as bad as you're making it out to be.
No, I think it's. I would like to be clear. I do not think it's bad. I think it's unplayable.
Okay, I don't think that this card is nearly as unplayable as you're making it out to be. So, first off, if it's special summoned in any way, you can special a dinosaur monster from your hand, right? So, immediately when it hits the field, you have the ability of tutoring out any dinosaur monster, right? Which, to me, with the amount of searching that you can do in the deck, being able to tutor out a dinosaur, even if it's something like Pancratops, is really good, right?
Caveat here, sorry to interject. The only way that you're ever making this is if you've already drawn the dino combo, and if you've already drawn the dino combo, there's not a lot of very high level cards to special summon from your hand, especially when you've used a lot of those resources to make this. So I think you would be correct if we had something like another type of Oviraptor card that could extend plays further, but we don't have access to that, at least not until we get the Animation Chronicle Dinosaur Fusion, and even then, it's really just not worth it. So I don't think that the special summon from hand, like, why would you make this and not Ancient Fairy Dragon if you're going to special summon a dinosaur from hand, right? So I don't know. My view is that effect is more cope than anything, but continue.
I think it's also worth noting that I would summon this over Ancient Fairy. I would rather have this in my extra deck than Ancient Fairy, mainly because this card is good past turn 0 in that respect, right? Like, past turn 0, I'd rather play this than Ancient Fairy, because I don't have to skip my battle phase.
Right. You were... Anyway.
Yeah. If they face up dinosaur monster control... If the dinosaur monster this card points to a destroy battle or sent to the graveyard, you can draw a card. Again, I don't think that this card is necessarily terrible in this respect either. Yes, you have to co-link it, essentially, for it to work, more or less, or you have to have a downward pointing arrow, but I don't think that that's overly difficult to do.
It's not overly difficult to do. It's just that the resources used to do that could be used so much better. And like, you don't have to. For example, if you put this in the EMZ and you destroy it yourself, you shuffle a normal back from graveyard into deck, and then you special it, and then it's in the main monster zone and is pointing to stuff. But like,
right,
you need like 8 bodies to do that, and by the time that you'd be making this, it's just not worth it.
You could have already done other things. Yeah. I guess it's like, considering the extension that Dinosaur already has, it's like underwhelming, but I don't know. I still don't think it's. I don't know. Maybe it's just because every card reads crazy these days. You know.
Yeah, maybe I'm corrupted by the ground Xeno virus. And I will say, like you mentioned, this is like one of the coolest card arts that they've ever put on a dino. I love this guy. I wish he was good.
If it's anything less than secret, it's a travesty.
I would love it at secret. This card is badass.
It's cool. It's just bad. So. Well, with that said, I think next weekend or next episode, which would be the Friday episode.
Friday.
I do think that we are going to go ahead and talk a little bit about Battles of Legend Monstrous Revenge. So if you're interested in that, be sure to tune in.
Got some cool cards.
Yeah, I got a lot of cool cards, a lot of cool reprints. But we are out of time for today for the most part. So with that said, let's go ahead and thank all of our wonderful Patreons. What do you say?
I am absolutely interested.
So, of course, without a doubt, we want to thank you. So a huge thank you to Kane Martin, Zyphorus, Broken Boy 13, Ding Dongs, Hostess of the Yang Zang. That's one of my favorite ones of all time.
It's so good. It's so well executed.
Yeah. Earth Machine Best Deck. Has anyone actually read Toy Vendor? Not Vendor, Vendor. It's spelled wrong. I never noticed that. Yeah. HGH Cyber. I am not a man. I am not a god. I am the Seto Kawaiiba. I used to play Rogue, but then my mom got a job. Is Canada Nickelback? It's confirmed. Shinedown is better than the Beatles, only if you're stupid. John Leo, Monstertron, Mountain Man, Oatmeal. Wait. John Leo, Mountain Man, Oatmeal Spaghetti. Owen Alvarado, Silver Hope, Sword Soul, More Cope than Striker, Unbanned Number 95, Konami, Understanding and Reading are two different things, Virtually Savior's World, Who Ripped Ash, Aaron Gardner, Asami, Ashless Chaps, Atsuyo, Simpa the Silver Castle, Blackwing, Silver in the Ascent is the best Floodgate, Box Wine, come on and get your game on, Duty Booty, Dragon Maidenless Behavior, I'm about to wreak a Glamour Trooper across these playing nuts in your mouth, Cam, the 27-hour no-sleep mountain lion puncher. That is all a reference to something that happened over the weekend on our regional drive.
I love that Cam's patron names are basically just like a recap of whatever regional adventure y'all last went on.
Yeah. Old Man Red, pin code 143, and Slaking It Up. Thank you all so much for your continued support. If you want to know what... Okay, so I'm going to tell the story very quickly. We're on our way to Houston. I left my house at 3 a.m., picked Cam up at 3:45. We are going down to Houston. We're on the road. We stop at a donut shop at like 4:30 in the morning and get hot, fresh donuts. We're driving. We eat. Cam's like extra tired because he just never went to sleep. He just stayed up and then plans to sleep in the car. He like leans his seat back. I'm on the call with Celestial Windup. We're chatting and Cam leans that seat back. And he zones for about 10 minutes. And after about 10 minutes, he jumps up at the chair. He's flailing his arms. He's kicking his legs. He looks like a crazy person. He's just losing his mind. And I'm like, whoa. I grab him. I'm like, yo, chill. You good? He is freaking out. And after a couple of seconds, his eyes focus back in. And he looks at me. And he's like, looking around the car. And he's like, dang, man. I guess I won. I was like, what? He said, well, first there was this dude that was standing there looking weird. And as I was looking back at him, all of a sudden I got attacked by a mountain lion. He said it was the most realistic dream I've ever had. I said I could feel the fur, but it was just attacking me. And I was fighting it. And then I woke up.
me when Vanquished Soul Pantera tries to kill me in my sleep.
Oh my god, dude! It was so funny. And then he ended up not being able to get back to sleep, so he played the entire regional with 10 minutes of sleep for the whole night. Crazy. And we wonder why we don't do good at regionals on 2 hours of sleep or less.
I think I have brought this point up to you, where the next time you just gotta plan for it.
I do plan. I plan on not sleeping.
All right. On that note, on the note of Cam's wonderful adventures, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. I've been Giant Skyhawk, and I will catch y'all later. Would you like to say goodbye to the people, Sonny?
Of course. Thank you all so much for listening to today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. Have a wonderful week, everybody.
I figured I'd try copying you for once.
Yeah,